I made a promise that changed everything. At the time, it didn't feel important. It didn't feel dangerous. It just felt
Right.
we were sitting together, talking like we always did. About life? About stress? About dreams we weren't sure would ever come true. The world felt heavy that day. And somehow, we both felt it. He looked tired. Not physically, emotionally. That's when he said it.
He said he was scared. Scared of failing.
Scared of being alone. Scared of losing people. And without thinking, I said the words that would change my life. I promise I'll always be here for you. I meant it. At that moment, it felt like the easiest promise in the world. He was important to me. Being there for him felt natural. Necessary. He smiled, a small smile, but a real one. And something shifted. From that day on, I became his constant. His safe place. The person he called when things went wrong. The person who listened when no one else did. I didn't realize it then. But that promise was the beginning of everything. It started small. A late-night call after a bad day at work. A text asking for advice on something that felt huge to him but trivial to anyone else. I was happy to be that person. It felt good to be needed. To know that my presence could make a difference. I'd drop everything to listen. To offer whatever comfort I could. My own problems seemed to shrink in comparison to his. I told myself that's what good friends do. They show up.
No questions asked.
But slowly, over months, then years, the dynamic began to change. The calls became more frequent, the problems more consuming. My role as his support system became my primary identity in our friendship. The line between being a friend and being a lifeline blurred so much I could uneven see it anymore. My own life started to take a back seat. I canceled plans with other friends because he might need me. I'd stay up until 3 a.m. talking him through another crisis. Even when I had a huge presentation the next morning. My own dreams, the ones we used to talk about together, were gathering dust on a shelf. I was so focused on keeping him afloat that I didn't realize I was slowly sinking. My other relationships started to suffer. Friends would ask why I was so distant, why I always seemed exhausted. I couldn't explain it. How do you tell people that you've willingly given all your energy to one person? It sounded codependent. It sounded unhealthy. And maybe it was. But it was all tied to that one promise. I'll always be here for you. It echoed in my head every time I felt a flicker of resentment or exhaustion. A promise is a promise, right? The breaking point wasn't a big, dramatic event. It was a quiet Tuesday afternoon. I had just received some amazing news about a project I had been working on for years. I was ecstatic, buzzing with excitement. The first person I wanted to tell was him. I called, my voice bubbling with joy. But before I could even get the words out, he started talking. Another crisis. Another fire to put out. I listened, my own good news dying on my tongue. I spent the next hour calming him down, offering solutions, being his rock. When the call ended, the silence in my apartment was deafening. My excitement was gone, replaced by a profound emptiness. In that moment, I realized the truth. My life had become a footnote in his story. I was a supporting character, and I had cast myself in that role. That promise, made with the purest intentions, had become a cage. So, I had to make a choice. Break my promise, or break myself. It was one of the hardest decisions I've ever had to make. I started by setting small boundaries. Not answering the phone after 10 p.m. Suggesting he talk to a professional. Someone better equipped to help than I was. It was messy. He was hurt, confused. He accused me of abandoning him. Each conversation was like walking through a minefield. There were times I almost gave in, ready to go back to the familiar comfort of being his savior. But I knew I couldn't. I had to choose myself. It meant redefining our friendship. It meant accepting that I couldn't be his everything.
It meant learning that being a good friend doesn't mean setting yourself on fire to keep someone else warm.
Today, our friendship is different. It's quieter, more balanced. He's learning to rely on himself and other resources. And me, I'm rediscovering my own life. I'm chasing those dusty dreams again. I learned that you can love someone deeply. You can care for them immensely, but you cannot save them. They have to save themselves. And sometimes, the most loving thing you can do is to step back and let them find their own strength.
That promise I made all those years ago, I didn't break it.
I just redefined it. I'm still here for him, but now I'm here for myself too. And that has made all the difference. Once you make a promise, it changes everything about how you show up. And I showed up every single time. When he was soaring, celebrating a win, I was right there beside him, cheering the loudest. And when he was broken, when the world felt like it was crumbling around him, I stayed. I didn't leave. When he tried to push everyone away, building walls around his heart, I just pulled my chair a little closer. I stayed even when it hurt, even when every instinct told me to protect my own heart. Because somewhere along the way, my feelings started to change. It wasn't a sudden shift, more like the slow turning of a page. I stopped seeing him as just a friend, just someone I cared about deeply. He became someone I needed, someone my heart chose without ever asking for my permission. It was this quiet, undeniable truth that settled in my bones. But I didn't say anything. I couldn't. How do you confess that you're in love with someone when your promise was never about romance? It was about friendship, about loyalty, about just being there. So I stayed quiet, and I kept my promise. I became an expert at listening. I listened to him talk for hours about other people, about the excitement of new crushes and the heartache of relationships that weren't with me. I even helped him through them. I gave him advice, patched him up when things went wrong, and told him he deserved the world, all while my own world felt like it was shrinking. I convinced myself that my feelings didn't matter. As long as he was okay, as long as he was happy, that was enough. It had to be enough. But promises, especially the silent ones, can be incredibly heavy. Being always there for someone means you never get to leave. Even when staying is the most painful thing you can do, it means loving quietly from the sidelines. It's carrying a universe of feelings that no one else can see. A secret weight on your soul. There were so many nights I'd lie awake, just wondering if he knew, if he could feel it in the way I looked at him, in the way I always seemed to know what he needed before he did. I wondered if maybe, just maybe, my promise meant something different to him, too. If behind his eyes, he was feeling the same pull, the same unspoken connection that I was. But I never asked.
I was too afraid.
Afraid that the truth, once spoken, would shatter everything we had built. It would break the promise, break the friendship, and maybe break both of us. So I kept my promise, held my breath, and hoped that one day I wouldn't have to choose between my heart and my word. I just kept showing up, because that's what I promised I would do. And sometimes, a promise is all you have left to hold on to. Have you ever made a promise that felt like it was slowly chipping away at you? I did. I made a promise to someone I loved deeply. A promise to always be there for him, no matter what. It was a promise born from the purest intentions, from a heart that wanted nothing more than to support and uplift him. And for a long time, I held on to that promise like a lifeline. I was his rock, his constant, the one he could always count on. I was proud of that. I felt like I was doing the right thing, the loving thing. But one day, a painful realization washed over me with the force of a tidal wave. I was keeping my promise, but I was breaking myself in the process. I looked in the mirror and barely recognized the person staring back. The spark in my eyes had dimmed, replaced by a deep-seated weariness. My laughter, which used to come so easily, felt forced. I was living on autopilot. My own needs and feelings pushed so far down they were almost invisible. I had promised to be there for him. Yes, but I had never, ever promised to disappear. I had never agreed to sacrifice my own happiness, my own peace, my own identity at the altar of his needs. That's when I finally understood a truth that would change everything for me. A promise, no matter how sacred, should never cost you your own peace of mind. It shouldn't be a cage you lock yourself in. This realization was both liberating and terrifying. Liberating because I finally saw a way out of the fog. Terrifying because I knew what I had to do next. I had to do the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. I had to speak my truth. My heart was pounding in my chest. My hands were shaking, but I knew I couldn't stay silent a moment longer.
The silence was suffocating me.
So, I took a deep breath and I spoke.
When I finally talked to him, I made a conscious choice. I didn't blame him. I didn't list all the ways I felt let down or unseen. I didn't want it to be an attack, because my goal wasn't to hurt him. It was to save myself.
I just told him the truth, as gently and honestly as I could.
I told him that my promise came from a place of immense love, a love that was still very real. I explained that being there for him, supporting him, truly mattered to me. But then, I added the part I had kept hidden for so long. I told him that my heart mattered too. My well-being, my spirit, my need to feel alive and whole. That mattered just as much. I confessed that I couldn't keep pretending everything was fine when, on the inside, I was falling apart. After I finished, the room was filled with a heavy silence. It felt like an eternity. In that quiet space, I had no idea what he was thinking. Maybe he understood the depth of what I was saying. Maybe he didn't, or couldn't. Honestly, at that moment, his reaction wasn't the most important thing. Because in that silence, I felt a profound shift within myself. I had honored my own feelings. I had stood up for the person I had neglected for so long. Me. Whether he got it or not, I finally got it. I understood myself. That difficult conversation, born from a painful promise, taught me a lesson I will carry with me forever. Love is a partnership. It should be a weight that is shared between two people, not a burden carried entirely by one. And promises should be a source of strength and security. They should protect you, build you up, not systematically break you down, piece by piece. Looking back, I don't regret making that promise. I really don't. Because it revealed to me the incredible depth of my own capacity to love. It showed me just how fiercely loyal and dedicated I can be. But more importantly, it showed me how brave I can be when it's finally time to choose myself. It taught me that the ultimate act of love is sometimes learning to love yourself enough to walk away from a promise that is no longer serving you, or the love it was meant to represent. And that's a lesson worth more than anything. Thank you so much for listening to my story today. If this resonated with you, I do love it. If you do like this video, and subscribe to the channel for more conversations like this. See you in the next one.